Good afternoon. My name is Susie Stern, and as the board chair-elect, I want to welcome you to today's Jewish Democratic Council of America, JDCA's program, Reflections on 2024 and the Path Forward for Democrats. To the more than 65,000 of you who have attended our programs and events throughout this year, thank you so much. Whether this is your first time joining us or your 50th, you are most welcome at JDCA, your home and political voice. We encourage you to visit our website at jewishdems.org to learn all about the ways that you can participate and contribute to our work now and into 2025 and beyond. As we enter the new year, the Jewish community faces the beginning of a second Trump presidency. An ever-changing landscape in the Middle East, including in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Gaza, and a new session of Congress with a razor-thin margin in the House and Senate. Democrats and all Americans face an uncertain future under a vengeful and dangerous Republican White House and Congress. As we face this uncertain path, electoral forward, I apologize. It is our responsibility to learn from this last election cycle and ensure that we set ourselves up for future electoral success and successful advocacy efforts. It's going to take all of us working together to fight for our Jewish and democratic values and institutions, such as defending democracy, protecting access to reproductive care, combating climate change, and more. And we already have begun. To join us in opposing extremist Kash Patel's nomination and in standing against recess appointments that threaten the checks and balances of our government, please click on the links in the chat. While this past election may not have turned out the way we had hoped, but all was not lost. Democrats managed to hold key Senate seats in Nevada and Wisconsin, Jackie Rosen and Tammy Baldwin, and elect dynamic new leaders to the Senate in Arizona, Ruben Gallego, and in Michigan, Elissa Slotkin, who we are thrilled to have join us today. I'm going to turn this over to Marcy Orley, direct from an Uber. She's a trooper, and she's going to introduce Senator-Elect Elissa Slotkin. Boy, does that sound good.
Thank you, Susie. It's really my pleasure and my privilege for me to introduce my senator, Elissa Slotkin of Michigan, as a proud Michigander. Before running for the Senate, Senator-Elect Slotkin served Michigan's 7th District in the House of Representatives. In Congress, she advocated for lower prescription drug costs, reproductive rights, and combating anti-Semitism. Prior to her time in the House, Senator-Elect Slotkin worked for the Central Intelligence Agency and Department of Defense. She's been my friend since she was running for the House, and I am just thrilled that Michigan got this so right. Moderating today's conversation is JDCA CEO Halie Soifer, who has served as JDCA CEO since its inception in 2018. Prior to this role, Halie served for nearly 2 decades as a national security advisor to 4 members of Congress, including then Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Chris Coons, and as a senior policy advisor in the Obama administration. With that, I'm very pleased to turn things over to Halie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcy, for the introduction. And we are just so thrilled to be joined by Senator-Elect Elissa Slotkin. What Marcy didn't say is that both Marcy and I are proud Michiganders. I grew up in the district, and Susie grew up, both of us, in East Lansing, Michigan, in the district where you have served for the past 3 terms and flipped from red to blue in 2018. And we are just so proud to support you. You've been such an outstanding member of Congress, representing the values and views of Jewish Americans, an amazing national security leader in Congress, and we are thrilled to see what you will accomplish in the Senate. So as proud Michiganders here, we are thrilled. I wanted to ask you a few questions on behalf of JDCA. You ran an incredible campaign for the Senate, and we were so happy to support you. You overperformed the top of the ticket in Michigan in order to win this Senate race. Presumably, you did so by receiving votes from voters who may have split their tickets and also voted for Donald Trump. As you reflect on the 2024 election, both your election and the presidential election, what do you think are some key takeaways for Democrats in Michigan that we should learn as we look to the future, specifically the next election?
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. Hi to all my friends. It's really kind of a badass thing, I just have to say, as a Michigander, to be introduced by three Jewish women, all from Michigan. That sort of doesn't happen a lot, especially in national circles. So super excited to be here. And I just want to really thank everyone from JDCA. A lot of you supported me, donated to me, and just generally were rooting in the field for our success. And it was a nail biter. I'm sure a lot of you were like refreshing whatever page you were on many times that night. It was bittersweet because of what happened at the top of the ticket, but I just really appreciated JDCA and just having, I think there were so many political issues this year for the Jewish community, having an organization that and a forum for people to think through those issues, really difficult issues that are still happening. It was just really important. So thank you for everything you all did to help me win. We did win in a state that Trump won. That's happened to me before in my previous congressional districts, but obviously a whole different scale to do a statewide Senate race. We did have thousands of split ticket voters. I think, some of my key takeaways, I feel very strongly that identity politics is really, we need to have it go the way of the dodo. Like just the idea that you can say, well, this group, because of their race or religion or ethnicity, is going to do this predictable voting behavior is not right. And coalitions are changing, voters are changing. I would walk into a room in the middle of my campaign in, Rochester Hills, Michigan, a fundraiser for me, let's say by a bunch of Pakistani American doctors, and I'd make assumptions that they were going to vote for Harris. And suddenly I realized I'm at an event where everyone's voting for Donald Trump, right? Or, assumptions about what the Latino community, the African American community is going to do. I just think that you got to appeal to people's core issues, regardless of their historical voting patterns. And you can't get lazy. I think Donald Trump was not lazy. And so I think that, to me, identity politics, I think, is really dematerializing. And I think that that's probably a good thing in many ways. I also think, people were desperately concerned about their pocketbooks. And if you weren't also showing that you were desperately concerned about their pocketbooks, you were only having half a conversation. And we worked very hard. All of those ads that you helped us pay for, all that communication, all those mailers, any issue I was talking about was connected to their pocketbooks. If not directly, then we made the connection for them. Straightforward, direct to camera. Here's why I want to be your senator. You need to keep more money in your pocket, kind of thing. And I think that's what people wanted, and they got confused. Given how short the election cycle was, once Kamala Harris fleeted to the top of the ticket, she was in a very, very difficult position, but they got confused what our priorities were as a party. What did we care about the most? Did we care about everything? That's hard, to care about everything. So I think, to me, you got to speak to people's pocketbooks and their kids with everything you do, because that's what's keeping them up at night.
We obviously saw, certainly since October 7th, just an increasingly complex and difficult situation in the Middle East, which no doubt played a role in this election, including in states like Michigan. Somehow you managed to navigate the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the war, extremely well, explaining your position. And we are so grateful for your staunch support of Israel in the aftermath of this horrific attack that occurred. But how did you navigate this issue in Michigan? How did you speak to the range of voters in Michigan about the war in Gaza, about your support of Israel? Because clearly your message resonated, perhaps even among those that didn't share your view.
Yeah, I mean, I won Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, so the three Muslim-dominated communities, Muslim and Arab American dominated communities of Michigan. There's other areas that have a ton of people too, but those are the three big ones. Trump won Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. And I think, look, I can't tell you how this issue has roiled the state of Michigan. You know that, but it just, with the largest Arab and Muslim American population in the country, a very large Jewish population, it was just very personal for so many people. And so it's hard to overstate how much it roiled people. I will tell you, there was no one who was like 100% happy with me and thought that what I said was perfect 100% of the time. It would be amazing. I'd put out a statement or something and I'd hear from certain Jewish community members and I'd hear from certain Arab and Muslim American community members, both upset about different parts of the statement, right? What I did try to do was keep the lines of communication really wide open with as many people as possible, even if that meant like calling people who were mad or who didn't feel like I was doing enough or I was doing too much. So hard conversations when you would call, but you just keep that door open. And you also express compassion. I mean, I think the thing that is so painful about the crisis is that both the Jewish community and the Arab and Muslim American community and lots of others feel it so personally, and they're feeling the same things. Like, average Americans don't care about our dead, right? No one cares about the security situation for my family, for my cousins, for the people I really care about over there. They're fearing for anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. They're wondering what their kids' experience is going to be like at university and what is happening in our universities, right? So that mirror image situation was happening in both communities, and expressing empathy and understanding for that pain was not like politically sensitive for me, right? I don't like to see children dying, no matter the circumstances, and I don't like to see anti-Semitism, the rise of anti-Semitism from the left, the way we were seeing it. So just call a shot, call balls and strikes, keep the lines of communication open, and don't be afraid to express empathy as a human being, separate from your like politician-y talking points.
I will just emphasize, we as JDCA, as Jewish voters, are so deeply appreciative of your strong support of Israel. You've been entirely consistent and strongly supportive of Israel. And given your national security expertise and leadership, we look forward to that continuing in the Senate.
Well, I will just say, because I think it's important for all Jewish organizations to be thinking about this. You know, it's like we're gonna have to prioritize what we really care about, right? The Trump administration is going to be different, and so if he does 5 outrageous things in one day, how does every organization figure out what is truly the things that they're going to be focusing on? And what I would offer is there's a lot of people who would be happy to say something about a statement of mine that they liked or they didn't like. But the votes are really, really important. And so I just, there is language and there are critical votes. And the thing that makes the difference more than anything is not the turn of phrase, it's the damn vote.
Yeah. Well, you've got some votes coming up on a range of what we consider to be pretty dangerous and unqualified extremists that the president-elect is nominated to, or will officially nominate to key posts in his administration, including critical national security posts. Assuming Senate Republicans don't capitulate to Trump's demands for recess appointments, you will be voting on these nominees in the Senate. What, as you think about these upcoming votes and nomination, even hearings, what role are you going to play, and what role do you recommend that we play in opposing these nominations?
Yeah, well, this is the first time that I will have to give, advice and consent on these nominees, that I will be voting on these nominees. House members don't do that. So this is a new job. And I take that job pretty seriously as someone who's been up for Senate confirmation in my previous national security life. I take it seriously, and I'm going to be as objective and open-minded as I can. I'm not some of my colleagues have been like, I'm already telling you I'm not voting for any of these nominees, and I am not saying that. I want to talk to them and engage with them as much as they're interested in doing that. But I also, coming from the CIA and the Pentagon and the White House, know very, very intimately the importance of having people of competence and character in these jobs. And not just like the parlor game of who should get a job. And that's kind of what's happening, the debate in Washington. Like, no kidding, no joke. The head of the CIA, the head of the DNI, the Secretary of Defense, the head of the FBI are making life and death security decisions on behalf of the American people. And if they do a crappy job or don't have the right interests or are advocating for the wrong people or interests, excuse me, like, people can die. American citizens can be less safe. So there should be a pretty high bar on these folks, but I'm going to take each of them as they come and try to keep an open mind. There will certainly be some of them. I mean, Marco Rubio is not a non-traditional pick for the Secretary of State for a Republican administration, and every president deserves to have their own people. So, there's a range, I think, of people. But I think in general, my approach on nominees is going to be my approach on sort of anything Trump throws at us, right? I've been trying to think about this. I wake up in the morning, I open my news. There's 5 crazy things. Okay. How do I evaluate what to fight back on? Because complaining on Twitter and like making some statement may make you feel good and your colleagues feel good, but it doesn't actually change the situation. So how do we get engaged? I'm going to look at each issue and say, is it a strategic threat or a tactical threat? Is it like long-term or short-term, right? If it's a long-term threat to the interests I care about, the second question is it reversible or irreversible? Could another administration come in and say, you know what? I didn't like what Trump did, and reverse the entire thing, and we'd go on with our lives? Or is it like an issue that the genie will not go back in the bottle on? And, Pete Hegseth at the Department of, serving potentially as the Secretary of Defense. I don't like all the stuff I'm hearing about his background, but that is tactical. Okay. The strategic thing I'm worried about is, will he use the U.S. military, active duty uniformed troops in a way that contravenes the Constitution? Will he have them serving in law enforcement roles? Will he use them for retribution, or to set up internment camps, or to police our inner cities and make American citizens fear their own uniformed military? Whoa. Now we're talking strategic and irreversible. So how do I go deep on that issue instead of going an inch wide on those 5 issues that he did that day? So I just think Jewish organizations, any organization, is going to have to do the same thing. Where are you going to go deep, not just wide?
As usual, very thoughtful approach. Appreciate it very much. So the next 4 years with Donald Trump back in the White House are going to be difficult. Every morning, we're going to be waking up to the 5 crazy things. Despite that, there were some bright spots in this election, including your victory, which will take us into the year knowing that we have responsible leaders who share our values, like you in Congress. This gives us hope. As you head into this new Congress and into the Senate, what gives you hope, including from this amazing election that you've just won?
Yeah, actually, I still have hope. Don't give up the ship, people. I mean, I have hope. look, there was no way to miss the fact that a week after I got elected, I was in Senate school, Senate orientation. There's 12 freshmen in this class, 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans. The Democratic class is fantastic, younger, more diverse than we've seen in a long time. And then they start throwing the history at you, right? I'm the 63rd woman ever to be in the US Senate. There's 64 ever, 23 are still serving. The 4th Jewish woman ever to be in the US Senate, and Jackie Rosen is still serving. I'm the youngest Democratic woman in the Senate, the 2nd youngest woman in the Senate. And Katie Britt and I are having breakfast next week. So the youngest woman in the Senate. To be honest, I'm pretty excited about generational change. It's not pointed at any one person. It's just to say that I think we all know this, like our country's going through something and paradigms are shifting. We need new and open-minded thinking. And that particularly pertains to the Jewish community, I would say, because, Donald Trump is going to try his hand at solving Middle East crises. And we can't be against progress, even if it's him who suggests it, right? The Abraham Accords did good things. They came from an administration I don't love, but I'm not going to be against progress just to be mad because I don't enjoy Donald Trump and his leadership. So how do we be for the things that are good, defend the things that are not good, defend against the things that are not good, and then not give our joy to that man, right? I think that the thing that feels different with this administration and gives me hope is like, people are trying to figure out how to be effective. They're trying to figure out, what should I do politically? How should I be engaged? And I think, to me, it means people are not walking away. They just want to think openly and open-mindedly about how to best defend the things they care about. So new generation, new thinking gives me hope.
Thank you. Now, I know you have a busy day continuing to plan for and close up your House office and move on to the Senate. But any closing words for us?
Just thank you again. I think I always laugh that I've never had more text communication with the other Jewish members of Congress until this past year. Like, we've all drawn closer together because we feel like the sands are shifting under our feet. So thank you to JDCA for sort of being that organizing function for our community that really needs to be, again, thinking differently about how to protect ourselves and protect our kids and explain to the American public who we are. So thank you for doing that. And just thank you for sticking with me from the very, very beginning. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for your principled leadership. You are so rock solid, so consistent, and you really represent our values. And we're so grateful for your leadership. Looking forward to seeing you serving in the Senate.
You bet. Come and see us. Everybody, come and visit. All right,
Great.
everyone. Bye now.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our Chief Program Officer, Bobby Saperstein, to wrap up.
Thanks, Halie. And thank you to Senator-Elect Slotkin and to each of you for joining the Jewish Democratic Council of America for today's conversation reflecting on 2024 and the path forward for Democrats. There's no arguing that 2024 has been quite a year and unlike any other, and this past election cycle has certainly been one for the books. Throughout it all, JDCA has been there, and you've been with us. Together, we laughed and got out the vote with Barbara Streisand, Josh Gad, and second gentleman Doug Emhoff, and we cried as we marked the one-year anniversary of October 7th. JDCA is so much more than a political movement. It's a community. It's home. To the more than 65,000 of you who have joined our 138 programs and events this past year, whether it was a phone bank, a Zoom call, whether you joined us in Chicago at the DNC or canvassed with us across the country, thank you. As we look ahead to 2025 and what the next administration will bring, remember that JDCA was founded in the aftermath of the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville during the first Trump administration. We've been here before, and we're not going anywhere. But we need your help. Please visit jewishdems.org to learn about all the ways you can take action with us by signing up for our events, joining a state or local chapter, becoming a JDCA member, and making a financial contribution to support programs like this. And we're not waiting until Trump is in office to take action. We've already gotten started. So please click on the links in the chat to urge your senators to oppose recess appointments, confirm President Biden's judicial nominees, and reject Trump's dangerous and unqualified cabinet picks. We also encourage you to check out our new Trump Watch page to keep up with JDCA's fight against the Trump administration's MAGA agenda and how to do something about it. So please click on the link in the chat. As Vice President Harris has reminded us, only when it's darkest do the stars shine the brightest. This Hanukkah and holiday season, may we all shine as brightly as we can for ourselves and each other. Thank you for joining us today. Wishing each of you an early Chag Urim Sameach, a happy Hanukkah, and a happy New Year, and we'll see you again in 2025. Take care.